Hey guys, welcome to Unbiased Rugby. Today I'm going to be talking about Super Rugby Round 11, the review of the weekend's games. I did actually enjoy all the weekend's games this weekend. I thought they were fairly entertaining. The games that I thought they would be quite tight were quite tight. Some of them a bit of runaway score lines. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through the scores quickly, give my rundown of what I thought of the games. And if I've missed the game, I'll just give the scores for those games and then I'll go through the rankings. So the first game of the weekend, we had the Crusaders against the Lions. The Crusaders winning that game quite comfortably at 36-10. For me, I don't think the Lions played too bad. I thought they were in the game for most of the game. It's just that Crusaders they're just another side completely. And the scariest thing that I noticed with the Crusaders, like there were quite a few knock-ons, quite a few handling errors near the beginning of the game. And it seemed like a bit of a pattern, and it looks like the Crusaders could actually improve on their current form, and that's a scary thought. If a team like that can improve, then I just hate to see them what they're going to look like in the finals or when they get to the knockouts, because the Crusaders are a team that they go through the whole season and they build up towards the final, and they tend to peak at the right times. So I'm expecting them to be even better in the closing rounds. But yeah, you could see the Lions were missing Warren Whiteley. They just didn't have that same kind of leadership. Quacko Smith was, even though he had a great game, he still knocked off tackles and things like that. So yeah, in all fairness, looking at the Crusaders, they seem to be beating teams 20 points average. So yeah, it just seems like that's the kind of scoreline that they were beating teams at. I doubt there's a team that can actually beat them in the competition at the moment. Only the Hurricanes could come close, and they've lost their last two games against the Crusaders. Next game of the weekend, I started watching this game, Sunwolves versus the Highlanders. And when it started looking like it was a bit of a cricket score, the writing was on the wall. It's pretty despondent if a team doesn't score any points. I should know. We know the Springboks losing 57-0 to the All Blacks. So yeah, 52-0, that's a hiding of note. The one thing I can say about the Highlanders, they seem to be doing really well against the teams that are below them, but they find it quite difficult to play the teams above them. So they're in the right position, but they just don't seem to have the same kind of firepower when they come up against the Highlanders and the Crusaders. But when they play the teams below them, they've got awesome amounts of firepower. So yeah, I thought it was a very, very one-sided game. Pretty sad for the Sunwolves to get that kind of score. So I'm just going to adjust my camera to get that kind of score, because I think they're better than that scoreline. I don't think that game was better than that scoreline. Next game of the weekend, we had the Hurricanes versus the Chiefs. I did think this game was going to Hurricanes winning that game 47-19. Sorry, the Highlanders beating the Sunwolves 52-0. Next game, we got the Hurricanes versus the Chiefs. I thought this was going to be a classic derby, and it wasn't. It really, really wasn't. The Hurricanes came out guns blazing. Geordie Barrett had an exceptional game. I just found the only player for the Chiefs that's world class is probably Anton Leonard-Brown, playing on the weekend. The other players, they miss Brodie Retallick. With 8 Damien, they just don't have that kind of attack. I'm in two minds with Marty McKenzie. I'm not 100% sure if he's a really good 10, but yeah, they were completely outplayed, outclassed in every single aspect of the game. Their best player, still by a long shot, is Anton Leonard-Brown, playing on the weekend. But yeah, without Brodie Retallick, it's exactly the same as New Zealand. New Zealand without Brodie Retallick, because they're just not the same. And I'm hoping that he'll be back this coming weekend, depending on who they're going to be playing. But yeah, that Hurricane side, Bowden Barrett, Lamar P, TJ Perenara, who for me is the inform scrum half in New Zealand at the moment. Even their scrumming was good, and the Hurricanes, they're not always known for having a great tight five. But it seems like they said, Ardie Severe. You forget about players like that. They're just on an. Ardie Severe is on another level. But yeah, for me, the Hurricanes are the only team that can come anywhere close to the Crusaders. the only team that could probably beat them on the day. I think the difference between the two sides is the Hurricanes rely on X-factor players, so they have these superstars that can change the game, whereas the Crusaders, when you watch them play, no player really stands out. They all play at a certain level, and it's across the board. And so yeah, it's one's more process driven, the other one's more like X-factor offloads and things like that. So yeah, I was fairly disappointed in the result. Not completely unexpected, but yeah, I think the Chiefs need to really start looking at their drawing board to try see how they can try bring up some new blood or some new players, or try recruit a little bit better in the new year. Next game of the weekend, we had the Waratahs versus the Sharks. The Sharks are now becoming my new red side. I can never predict what they're going to do week on week, but maybe it's just the nature of the African conference at the moment. Even the Australian conference, just never know what's going to happen, who's going to win. And so yeah, the Sharks winning that game 23-15. For me, I felt the Sharks completely outmuscled the Waratahs, completely outmuscled them. The bigger forwards, they played a traditional South African rugby game, which I like. Yes, we all love watching New Zealand derbies, but South African sides don't play like that super expansive game, maybe the Lions. But it's nice to see a team that relies on their traditional strength. I was looking at the defensive line for the Sharks. It was rock solid. It was just this wall of white. And it was good to see, first time tackles were happening. And I also think it's, there has been a lot of talk with Robert Dupree selecting his sons over everybody else. And I'm not saying Robert Dupree Jr. is a bad player, but, he needs to have some kind of competition that he's not going to just be selected week in and week out. I thought Curran Bosch had an exceptional game. Beast, Tyrera, he played really, really well. He's really stepping up this year. And for me, he is the informed loose head in South Africa at the moment. Everyone talks about Kitsoff and Gigoba, who also thinks an exceptional form for the Bulls. But here, he is our number one loose head at the moment. If he makes this World Cup, it's a similar kind of record to Osterund, and that's really, an Osterund for me is probably, if I was picking a World 15 of all time, Osterund would be the number one. Actually, it would probably be the only South African that would make the side. That's my personal opinion, and he would be in that same kind of conversation. He'll end up having 120 plus tests. But yeah, so for me, he's stepping up. He's stepping up at the right time. He's peaking at the right time, and he is in the form of his life. So yeah, congratulations to the Sharks. Waratahs, for whatever reason, I fully agree that Israel Folau is not playing at the moment, but Kurtley Beale is a wonderful player, but he ain't no Israel Folau. And then they could normally have Kurtley Beale playing in the midfield, so then they have that second playmaker playing at 50, and they just don't have that at the moment. So yeah, I think they really need to find out their plan B a lot quicker than what they are at the moment. I still think they're the side to watch in the Australian conference. I think they've got the firepower and the people. Bernard Foley kick at the end. Jeepers. Bernard Foley can either be the hero or he can be the stinker for the day, because he's just one of those kind of players. But I think there's a lot of ups and downs happening in that squad at the moment. Next game of the weekend was the Stromers versus the Bulls. Stormers winning that game 24-23 in Cape Town. The score sounds like it was a hell of a close game, but congratulations to the Stormers. They did outplay the Bulls completely. I'm going to talk mostly about the Bulls because they're on my side. But yeah, on the Stormers side, Cobus Visa had an exceptional game. One of the locks for the Stormers. I thought he played really, really well. Dylan Lates is on form again. I'd still like to see a few more games with Dylan Lates because I know when he went up to Springbok level, he just didn't feel like he made the cut at that point. I'd like to see him in the Rugby Championships to really see if he is on that level. So I'm just going to adjust my camera again. I actually should get a better mount for my camera. So Cobus Visa had a great game. I thought all the backs for the Stormers had a great game. They really did have the number for the Bulls. For me, the Bulls, look like a side. They don't seem to trust the players around them. A lot of one-off runners, a lot of runners going into contact. The one point the commentator said it was easier to score the try than mess it up, and they messed it up because Leboka, he went straight into contact, and all he had to do was offload literally a meter beforehand, and he could see the play on the outside, and he didn't do it. How many times did the Bulls be in the 22, in the danger zone, within the 5-meter scrum line, and not score? It was diabolical what was happening there. And for me, it really looks like it's a team that doesn't trust the players around them, and that just doesn't seem right. It's also a team that's got some big stars in it. So when the player does get an opportunity to come on the field and they really want to really score points and things like that, and it shouldn't be like that. So yeah, there's something seems a little bit suspect happening there in the back room. But yeah, what I could say from that game is that it looked like if the Bulls fix up those little things, those little handling errors, and they can just have the patience to wait 1 or 2 more phases, I think they're a top contending side. I think for me, I should stop saying for me. I said in my opinion, I still think they're the informed South African side. I think they have the best spine in the whole conference. So yeah, last game of the weekend, which I actually didn't watch. I've actually got a recording of it because it only airs at about 1 o'clock in the morning in South Africa. The Waratahs beating the Brumbies 2015. I had predicted that the Waratahs would win. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch the game and then I'll formulate my opinion on it. But yeah, I just think the Waratahs at home are a lot stronger than what people give them credit for. I think they're a lot better team than people give them credit for. And go to Argentina to go play the Waratahs at your own peril if you don't prepare for it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the rankings. As you know, I prefer to look at the rankings 1 to 15 based on points. I don't look at it in conference points. So the Crusaders obviously at 39 points. They're well in the lead of everybody else. The Hurricanes in second place at 32 points. Both those teams are in their 30s. The Hurricanes just win 1 or 2 games and they'll be on par with it. Par with the Crusaders. Sharks in next place on 26. The Bulls and the Rebels are on 24 points, but the Bulls have a better point differential. So I'd say the Bulls are on 4th and 5th. Then 6th, 7th, and 8th, we've got the Jaguares, Stromers, and Highlanders. And they're in with 23 points. And then the Lions on 22, and then the Waratahs, Blues, Brumbies, Reds, Chiefs, and Sunwolves. So yeah, it's I must admit, after the second place, it is super close. So if you look here, between second place and 12th place, it's only 6 points. That's a game and a bit. So that's a super close table. The South African Conference, I think there's 4 points between top and bottom. No, 6 points. No, 4 points between the Sharks and the Lions. That's a seriously competitive competition. And look, a lot of people have been saying about the inconsistency in the African Conference, and it's true. There has been a lot of inconsistency, but 4 teams from the African Conference are qualifying now for the playoffs. And that's normally a New Zealand table. So I've always believed you only need to win 50% of your games to actually make it into the quarters or make it into the knockouts. And it looks like almost the whole of the African Conference is like that. So yeah, highly competitive conference. I think it's good for Super Rugby. I think this is the first year in a long time where Super Rugby is actually the most competitive it's been. Yes, we've got the out and out, the best team in the world. Maybe Leinster. The Crusaders, they are out and out the best team, and I battle to see some international sides beating the Crusaders in the form they are. And I'm not talking to South Africa and England and those kind of teams. I'm talking, I don't think France could take them out. So yeah, for me, it's been one of the closest Super Rugby years in a long time, and that's great for Super Rugby. I think dropping the 3 teams was a good call. Maybe going down to 14 teams might be even a better call because it has become a lot more competitive, and that's just good for Southern Hemisphere Rugby. But listen, guys, please put your comments down below of the games that you liked and you enjoyed. any standout players that you liked, any great tries, things like that. But listen, guys, I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll chat to you soon. Cheers. Bye.